Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, Shane. We got fall camp all across the SEC kicking off. We got Missouri into the action, Tennessee back on the practice field, Vanderbilt's a couple in. We got Florida starting tomorrow. We got Mississippi State on Thursday. Basically, the entire SEC is going to be practicing by the end of the week.
Abso-freaking-lutely, Mike. I told you yesterday I was so pumped up. It's like I'm like a kid in a candy store. We actually have real college football news coming out. I will tell you though, I'm going to start off a little bit different here, Mike. I'm going to tell you I went to a restaurant today. This is kind of off the subject, but I'm going to tell you about a little hidden secret, brother. Have you heard of Buddy's Barbecue?
Of course.
I'm telling you, their smoked naked wings is where it's at, or not dry rub wings. I'm coming off a high here, brother. When you find something, you go to it. With me and the wife, she's like, I don't want to go here because it's like, the line was out the door and all this stuff. I was like, what about Buddy's? We'll try it. It's been here for like the last 50 years. Maybe they've enhanced their menu. So we jump in there. And I'm looking at these smoked wings, and I'm like, man, that looks pretty good with the dry rub. Yeah. And I'm telling you, brother, it is a secret. So a little excited about that, but I don't know. Smoked wings, it just seems right with college football. Yeah. I'm kind of getting the mood, Tomorrow I'm probably going to make a big pot of chili. It's like it's freaking 90 to 95 degrees out here, but I'm ready for fall, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when we're opening with Shane must have just ate this damn dinner. He's so fired up about it. But, hey, we got football to talk about, brother. And I had another idea for this show. I completely scrapped it because I was going back, listening to you on the last episode. You were so fired up, Shane, about these games we got upcoming. So I thought it would be fun, be able to hit on every single SEC team here if we talked about the watchability of the first game for every team in the SEC. Basically just going down the list, you may agree or disagree, but I basically got all 14 games. I don't want to call it ranked, but just kind of in the order that I really want to watch this game more than any other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this is a great one, Mike, because one of the show topic we had yesterday was some of the most important games in the first month of college football. And going through that's great and all, but it's, any fan out there is thinking about the first game. And the reason you're thinking about that is because there's some players on your team you haven't seen yet. I think of South Carolina and Rattler. Who gives a shit that it's Georgia State? But it's Rattler. What does this offense look like? What does a healthy Lloyd look like? Florida Gators, Napier's new coach, LSU, what is Kelly bringing down there at LSU? So, yes, there is a lot of great games going to be played in the first month of college football, but that first one is the one that you look forward the most because right now your expectations are as high as ever, and you get a full display of how either far along you are or behind, but it's a good, pulse, if you will, that first opener.
Yeah, no doubt, Shane. And, we've got football spanning multiple weeks here with of course, Vanderbilt kicking off on August 27th. We've got Thursday action with Missouri and Tennessee kicking off the season on a Thursday. We've got a Saturday full of games. And don't forget, I almost forgot about this, Shane, just because not that I forgot about the game, but it's not listed on your typical schedule here. We got a Sunday game, LSU, Florida State. So we are going to be spanning all these games across many, many days. But I'm going to start, Shane. Let's start at the top.
I've been saving up my sick days for this first week. I hope my boss ain't listening.
Exactly. So I'm going to start with the game that I'm looking forward to the most, Shane, right off the dock here. This game we've been talking about for months and months. Utah at Florida. Just cannot wait for this game. Our buddy Brett Sianka, Pick Six Previews, he's got Utah back in the college football playoff. That should give you an indication of what the national media thinks of this Utah Utes team that played in the Pac-12 championship last fall. Getting to see Billy Napier's first game here, Anthony Richardson and company. What will this offense look like? What will the defense look like? So many questions. But this one, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, on ESPN, nationally televised. I mean, this is going to be one hell of a game.
Dude, this is the game. This is the game that sets the tone. This is the one that SEC's. If Utah wins this damn thing, brother, they are going to be hanging the banner all over the town. You know what I'm saying? It's all they're going to be talking about is how they belong in the SEC, or why aren't they being talked about in an expansion? I don't want to hear that. I want to hear it. That's just noise. Florida Gators are a more talented team, in my opinion, top to bottom. Obviously, they have got to work some things out as far as depth, but opening a season, that's the least of your concern. Hopefully you do well through training camp and you stay healthy. This is Anthony Richardson. We propped him up as a potential Heisman candidate. Some are saying the first quarterback chosen. You don't get those accolades and then come out and put up a goose egg with Utah. So this is another opportunity to make a statement for Napier and company that they made the right hire. So, yeah, there's a lot riding on this game, and the closer it gets, the more people talk about how tight this ball game really will be.
Yeah, and I've said it before, Shane. I'll keep saying it till it gets here. Billy Napier playing with house money because everybody that's not a diehard Gator is going to be picking Utah. So you pull this upset in the heat, in the humidity. You get that big ball of momentum rolling down the hill. So cannot wait for this game. Now, how about this one, Shane? Maybe a little bit of a curveball. But LSU versus Florida State, again, Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern, 6 o'clock, 6:30 Central on ABC. This one I got so high on my list. Not that I think Florida State's very good, but I just got no clue what we're getting into Brian Kelly's first LSU football team, and I'm dying to know what this team looks like. Will they be world beaters like a lot of people think? Will they kind of, I don't want to say stumble out the gate, but start slow? Florida State may be bad enough you could start slow and still win this football game. So it's not a make or break here, but it's interesting that we're getting a challenge right out the gate. The game is in New Orleans, though.
Is Florida State still doing the backpack thing, or is that over?
As far as I know, they're backpack U.
Okay, well, I hate that it's not in Death Valley. That's the only thing, but I love this game. I'm excited. This is what I was telling at the start of the show. This is one of those teams you want to see what this offense looks like under Kelly. You want to see who's the quarterback, for crying out loud. I think there's just a lot of question marks for LSU, and that's more what this game is for me. I don't think LSU loses this thing, but this is definitely not one you want to stumble out of the blocks with because, again, it's one of those programs that isn't as good as they used to be. This ain't your Papaw's Florida State Seminoles. You know what I'm saying? This is a Florida State that you should put away, and we got to see a little bit of it last year with Gainesville. I mean, as bad as Florida was, they were able to beat this team, and I don't think they're any better than they were last season. So. Just question marks. That's why this game's so high on my list, Mike, just because we've got so many things we want to know about LSU and just the identity of this team. What does it look like on offense? What does it look like on defense? A lot of people are excited about Butte and all the weapons they have down there in LSU, but what is this defense ready? Is it ready for the SEC? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, isn't it funny, Shane? I mean, they schedule these dang games out 10 years in advance, and it seems like a SEC is always playing Florida State. And probably when they scheduled it, they were like, man, this will give us a nice boost for this playoff run. But in reality, it's like, well, we got to beat this team that's probably going to go 6-6. We don't want to get embarrassed by losing to this crappy ACC team. You know what?
Well, as a Tennessee fan, man, we usually do the opposite. Like, we schedule them when they suck, and then when they come up, it's like, wait, how much does it cost to get the payout of this thing so we don't have to play it?
Now, how about this one, Shane? This may be the best game of the weekend. Number 3 on my list, though, Oregon, Georgia, in Atlanta. Yeah. And again, Georgia will probably beat the pants off them, but a lot of intriguing storylines in this game. Dan Lanning, of course, former Georgia defensive coordinator, now the head coach of Oregon. Bo Nix, former Auburn quarterback, of course, now he's at Oregon. So we, a lot going into this game. It is in Atlanta. It's not in Athens like it should be, but we all know it's going to be Bulldog crazy down there.
Yeah.
They're not going to honor the national champions with a banner, but they ought to down there in Atlanta. To me, this is more about seeing what this I don't want to call it rebuilt, but reloaded Georgia team, how they look right out the gate, nationally televised, reigning national champions. Cannot wait to see Kirby Smart's latest team.
Yeah, it's not a home field advantage, but we all know Kirby's got a parking spot down there. So exactly. don't worry about him. He'll be fine. This one obviously is got to be to the top of your list because it's two-story programs, and I know Oregon doesn't have a ton of history, but in the last 20, 30 years, it's a sexy team. It's a team that a lot of recruits want to play at. There's a lot of players that are on Oregon that were recruited by Kirby, and vice versa. So this is national game. This is the cool thing about it, in my opinion, is the fact that the West Coast is really going to be paying attention to the SEC, and no better team to showcase than the reigning national champs with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Now, how about this game, Shane? Again, this may not be a contest, but still very intrigued to watch it. Cincinnati at Arkansas. This is a Razorback team on the rise, we all know. But you're getting a Cincinnati team that they're going to be told all off season they don't belong. They're going to get run out the building here, coming off a college football playoff appearance. Maybe they have some fight to them. Certainly, again, don't expect Arkansas to get upset in this game, but you can't start slow either if you're Arkansas. Let Cincinnati hang around. So very excited to watch this Cincinnati at Arkansas game.
Well, one of the reasons I like it is I don't think the Razorbacks are getting enough respect. This is a team, when you're looking at the matchup, there's going to be a handful of people, and you'll probably see it on college game day picks. Corso probably making some kind of comment and picking the Cincinnati Bearcats. But yeah, this is a team that was really good last year, but they had a good quarterback that's not there now. Right. This is an Arkansas team that I really think is there. They are in the upper echelon of the SEC. They are a true contender in the West, and I think they showcase that. So one of the reasons I'm excited about this ball game is just that we're going to get to see KJ out there just starting off his Heisman campaign the right way.
Now, how about this one, Shane? This one is for you, buddy. Memphis at Mississippi State. Them Bulldogs, one of the more underrated teams in the country coming into the season. It's going to be a night game. The cowbell's going to be ringing. Revenge on their mind. Mike Leach and company, you got to start fast here before we get into SEC play and just beat the hell out of Memphis. You know what?
Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. This one would have been a lot higher if this was my list. I lost a lot of money for this game because they cheated last year. That's not happening again. I don't give a shit what the spread is, Mike. I'm all in. Turn off the radio, Mississippi State fans. This is my lock of the week. I'm going all in on Mississippi State. Most disrespected team in the SEC, going against the Memphis Tigers, and this is a big game, brother. I know it doesn't. A lot of people don't know it, but I mean they're not that far apart. There's a lot of kids at both of these campuses that were recruited by the same coaching staffs. So I think this is a local a hometown ball game, man. This is like a Friday Night Lights, if you will. So I just think this is a good shot for Mississippi State to let everybody know that they're the real deal.
Now, how about this one, Shay? This might surprise you that I got this game so high, but there are a number of storylines that I want to watch going into it, and it's the first game of the year, so it's got to rate pretty high on the list. Vanderbilt at Hawaii, week 0. Clark Lee and company got embarrassed right out the gate against ETSU. Could have folded and could have just been a disastrous season. They rebounded nicely, but if we're going to make a bowl game, which is ambitious, I know, you have to sweep the non-conference, and it's got to start with Hawaii. They got a new coach this season. This should be a win, but it is obviously a far distance to travel, so it ain't going to be easy. And there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of youth going to be on the field for the Commodores. So tricky game. Cannot wait to see Vanderbilt at Hawaii. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to be up at 2 in the morning watching this damn thing, trying to find my brother in a big orange sweater, This thing kicks off. You sent me a text earlier today, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it is a late one. So I may have to call in the next day. But this one I'm excited about just because it's football, man. This is the true kickoff to SEC football. We care about all teams in the conference, even though some of the own staff doesn't care about their football program. I love the fact that Vanderbilt is going out here and opening up the season, and I just hope that we do it with a victory, brother. Vandy is a program that needs that confidence boost to crank this season up because their schedule isn't easy. There's a lot of people. I think the win-loss thing is what was it, 2 for the whole year? Was it 2 or 3? I can't remember.
It was 1.5.
The over-under. Oh, but God, even worse. So
now it's 2.5.
Oh, well, that's good. And that starts with a victory against Hawaii. And I don't know. I think Clark Lee surprises a few people this year. I really do. I don't know what's going on with this tricky quarterback situation. I think it's still going to be right, but, they're not tipping their hat there. So I kind of like that little mind game they're playing here. But this is a Vanderbilt team that needs that confidence boost, like I said, out of the gate. And it's just higher on my list because it's the first game of the year.
Yeah. Now, how about this one, Shane? Again, another potentially tricky game. This is a program that deserves some respect. They nearly knocked off Mississippi State, I believe it was last season. Louisiana Tech at Missouri on a Thursday. Missouri, they've got a lot of questions to get to. We'll get to them in just a minute. They suffered a tough issue there in Columbia to open camp, but we don't know who their quarterback's going to be, and a lot of intrigue going into this game. I think Missouri is one of the more disrespected programs in the SEC. I think they're a hell of a lot better than people are making them out to be, but it's got to start here quick. There's no McNeese State right out the gate. You got to come ready to play against Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, and this is one of those programs that, they worry you a little bit just because you do overlook them. And it seems like there's always that one Louisiana, Monroe, or Louisiana, there's always one of those Arkansas Pine Bluffs that come out, and then you're like, wait a minute, we weren't ready. And the one thing is, there's a few question marks, especially on that offensive side of the ball with Mizzou. They're replacing one of the greatest running backs to ever come through that university. We don't know exactly who the quarterback or how that's going to play out. Do they lean more toward the youth there? So there is those question marks, but this is a big season for Drinkwitz, man. This is a season that it's you gotta do better. It's like, you can't make the funny clips. You can't make the snide comments and get all the Twitter links sent around with you. But if you're not following it up with victories, and this is a hungry fan base that's ready for those, so you can't drop this one. So I want to see how well this team is moving come week 1, because I think honestly, brother, that this is one of those programs that should hit the ground running. Even though there are the question marks at quarterback, I still think that this is a well-coached team, and this is one of those programs, Eli, the way he does things, that it shouldn't be 3-4 weeks in before we find their identity. I think we discover it in the second quarter of this Louisiana Tech game.
Now, how about this one, Shane? This one probably rates higher on your list because you're so intrigued to watch them play. But you already hit on it. Georgia State at South Carolina. It's going to be a night game down there in Columbia. And thank goodness for that, because it was Georgia State when they upset Tennessee, when they nearly knocked off Auburn. Those were early games. They sneak in there.
Right.
I mean, these fans are going to be drunker than hell. They're going to be making all this noise. They do not know the buzzsaw that they're walking into down there in Columbia. So cannot wait to see the new look South Carolina Gamecocks. I think they're going to beat the hell out of Georgia State.
And they should, Mike, just like Auburn should have and Tennessee should have. This is a team that has hurt me. You know, I every time I see that little blue tiger or whatever it is, you know, I think about that day and just the sadness walking through Lowe's with my just crying, you know, almost crying like I lost a puppy or something. This is a team you cannot sleep on. This is a team that will be ready for you. And you know, it is tricky with South Carolina because they've got Arkansas the following week. It's a little bit of a trap game. They'll hear some of that storyline coming up to the season. But this South Carolina team is probably the one I want to see in action the most. I want to see what does Beamer and company make this offense look like moving forward, because there was some times it was getting traction last year, but now you went out, you got the I guess everybody's pick in the transfer portal, and we want to see how well does he fit in with the Gamecocks. I mean, they're doing it right with social media, but social media doesn't matter when that whistle blows. So I want to see, what does this South Carolina offense really look like? How good is this program going to be? And it's going to be a tough test just because this Georgia State team is always well coached and always well prepared.
Mm-hmm. Now, this next ring of games, Shane, I mean, none of these should be very competitive, so it's a little bit tougher to pick, but I'm going with Troy at Ole Miss for the fact that, you know, so much roster turnover there at Ole Miss. Again, they should beat the hell out of Troy. Troy is a somewhat dangerous squad here, but really I just want to see how all these pieces fit together. If the offense comes out firing, how's this defense look under their new defensive coordinator? A lot of questions with Ole Miss that we really won't have until they hit the field here against Troy.
Yeah, no, that's it. Lane went out there in free agency, found a whole bunch of boys, and let's see how he puts this team together. And I think they're going to be all right. It's just how quick do they gel? You know, I don't think Troy's a team you worry about, but again, you know, it's a good team to really stretch your offense, stretch your defense, kind of figure out who your playmakers are, figure out who's your backups. That's the key, because a lot of people practice well. You may get some of these transfers that come in and say, hey, buddy, they look good in the shoulder pads. They can run. They're catching good in air. But when the lights come on and you start getting hit, you know, then you say, okay, wait a minute. Maybe he's not our number one guy. Maybe, you know, we mix it up on the roster. And that's one thing about Lane has shown us. He is so good at changing even mid-game. So I'd like to see the adjustments through this ball game.
Now, the next game on the docket, Shane, Ball State at Tennessee. I know you can't wait for that matchup, but feels like last year when they played Bowling Green and scored 55, whatever it was on them. I mean, they'll just run through Ball State if everything goes according to plan. But it is a Thursday night game. There's not going to be a lot of other games on. So hopefully they end this thing by halftime so that I can focus on the second screen over there with Louisiana Tech, Missouri. You know what?
Absolutely. I like this. All eyes on the Tennessee Volunteers, and that's the way we wanted it. A little higher on my list because I'm a homer, but I'd love to see this game about 40-0 by the end of the second quarter. So, and I think they got potential to do it. But the reason I'm excited about it is, again, it's new weapons. We got new toys on the outside. We want to see who steps up. What does this defense look like? Are we able to get pressure on the quarterback? Even though it's Ball State, you know, they're going to do their best to slow us down. I can't wait for the first fake injury, brother. You know, it's going to happen. So I just think I don't think, you know, Heupel and company tip their hat and show all their plays during this game, but I still think there's going to be some aggression out there.
Yeah. Now, how about this one, Shane? Miami of Ohio at Kentucky. What would Kentucky surely they won't look drastically different, but a new offensive coordinator who steps up to be Will Levis's main target's going to be watching that. From what I understand, Miami of Ohio's got, a pretty solid offense, so we could have a little bit of fireworks in this game, but their defense is apparently god awful. So Kentucky should have their way with Miami in this one.
Mike, this is, they come out with this Will Levis Heisman video, and that's all fun and games, and everybody's excited about their quarterback up there, the QB1.
Mm-hmm.
When you play a game like NCAA, you love opponents like this because this is when you can pad those stats. This is when you can you want to talk about every highlight reel that's going to be played throughout the season will include some of these jerseys running around. You're going to say, who is it? Who did they play week 1? Because there's going to be multiple touchdowns scored in this game. I am curious if Rodriguez hits the turf. I doubt he does, but there's part of that storyline going to be played. There's a couple of question marks there on the outside, like you said. Who's the receivers? Who's the playmakers? Who's Will going to be throwing the ball to? So all that's going to be answered week 1, and I expect a ton of touchdowns in this one.
Now, how about this? This may surprise you, Shane, but I'll go again a little curveball here. Mercer at Auburn. Now they should beat the hell out of Mercer, and I'm sure they will. But
yeah,
this is one where, God forbid, there's like a pick six or something, and they start slow. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll beat them 60-0 like they did. They had a couple of these opponents right out the gate last year, and they smoked them. So That's probably what's going to happen. But the only reason I'm putting this as high as I am is just because we all know the drama and the storylines, and how does Auburn respond to any and all adversity that hits them this year, and we got to see if it happens right out the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they should call it mercy, because this thing should be called at halftime. That's what I'm thinking, brother. This is great. This is a great game for Auburn. I don't know how far out this one was planned, but this couldn't be a perfect opponent for Harsin and company. This is a team that is going to have a lot on them this season, Mike. And that when SEC play kicks in, they have got to be ready. They got to be ready on both sides of the ball, and you do that by tune-up games like this, brother. I'm excited because it's Auburn against the world, and it starts week 1. It's not a sexy game. Probably not a lot of people going to be watching it here, but I think you're going to recognize some unfamiliar faces during this matchup, and you're going to say, "Damn, Auburn does got some talent down there."
Mm-hmm. Now we only got 2 games left, Shane. I had to go with how soon are we going to get the quarterback out of the game versus what quarterback we going to roll out there. I'm going with what quarterback we going to roll out there. Sam Houston at Texas A&M. It doesn't matter who they roll out there. They just destroy Sam Houston. But, I'm eager to see these Aggies, especially the defensive front, a lot of young players on that side. I want to see them dominate Sam Houston. And we got to see, how many times Devon Austin going to touch the ball, Shane? Probably 10 times, and he'll probably score 4 touchdowns. You know what?
Absolutely. Sam Houston, shit. Come on now. It could be any Houston. I'm trying to think of Allen Houston. I don't care what Houston's out there. This ain't going to be a ball game. We all know that. But, this is a team that, they got high expectations, and I'm not saying that this is going to be a ball game at all, because it's not, brother. But there was a couple of games last year at Texas A&M that really drove me nuts, because they shouldn't have been ball games, and they were at halftime. We can't have that this year, man. This is a team that has got to come out firing on all cylinders. They got tons of seniority out there. They got tons of playmakers. They are 1,000,000 times faster than anyone on that program. This should be over by the end of the first quarter, and that's what I want to see. If you're going to go win a national championship, if you're going to win an SEC championship, teams like these, you put away early, and you get those backups in there, and you keep that first string healthy. You don't play around with your food here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. But and that, I mean, that's kind of the same deal with the last game. The only reason I didn't go with it, Utah State at Alabama. I mean, come on, give me a break here. This is nothing but they could roll out the third string, and they're favored by 3 touchdowns against Utah State. So,
yeah.
This game, hey, it's football. I'm going to watch it. I'll enjoy it. But we're basically going to be pulling the starters out. I'd be surprised if there's any starters left by halftime.
They may not even throw the ball in this game, Mike. I wouldn't. I'd put all my offensive line, backup linemen, and just keep turning around and handing the ball off. You know what I'm saying? Let's see how good this Gibbs kid really is. Get him about 200 yards by the first half. So, no, this is not going to be a fun game at all. In fact, I'm surprised we don't have to pay to watch it. but it's the start of the Alabama revenge tour. Nick Saban he's got a list. I remember a show or something. The guy, he marks a list. Nick Saban's got that. He's got 12 teams on his list, and he's going to mark them all off. He's already started to mark this one off. He'll finish it off in the first quarter.
Well, hey, Shane, we got a couple camp updates real quick before we jump off here. So let's kick it down to Columbia, Missouri real quick, where, man, I hate to even mention this, Shane, but we got some bad news right out the gate, courtesy of old Eli Drinkwitz. But we got a transfer here from Buffalo.
Drinkwitz, Mike. I've been correct. Yeah, I've been corrected a couple times now. I better get his name right since he started trolling my boys here in Knoxville.
Drinkwitz. The guy projected to be their starting center, Pence Bulgar, transfer from Buffalo, slated to be the starter, ineligible for the season. And apparently Missouri has appealed this, but the appeal was denied. So it doesn't look like old Pence is going to play for the Missouri Tigers, and like I said, he was projected to be their starting center. And a little inside information here, Shane. We all know that Missouri was in on a number of transfer quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Well, I was told from someone that would know down at SEC Media Days, the main reason J.T. Dales is at West Virginia and not Missouri. A lot of people like to point at the NIL, but what I was told, he didn't have confidence in Missouri's offensive line with all these defensive fronts that he's going to be going up in the SEC. And now you lose a projected starter at a critical position here at the center position. Man, it's just tough news right out the gate for the Tigers.
Oh, man, you hate to hear that, especially when you had all confidence that he was going to be there. So this is a huge blow, and especially center. I mean, that's your quarterback of the offensive line. Typically he's the one making the moves and controls that front five. So I'm curious to see who steps up and takes that role, but that's a big hit for Mizzou.
Yeah, no doubt. So right out the gate, Drinkwitz talks about that. Who will step up now at center with Polgar out for the year? The plan at the quarterback position, that's a question he's going to get asked endlessly till he names a starter. And then I love this. It's not all bad news down there. Enos Rakestraw, the guy that they landed over Alabama that, Drinkwitz, his reaction going wild, went viral his first year down there on the recruiting trail. Rakestraw coming back from an ACL injury. This is a very, very promising update here.
What about Shane helping Mike with pronouncing? A new chapter here.
Yeah, I thought we had a good first day. A lot of excitement out there, obviously, just like any first day of fall camp. Plenty to coach off of, plenty to look at and correct. Today was really kind of the floor of who we can become, and there's a lot more ceiling to go. A lot of really good competitions. And the good news, anybody can take it, but anybody's not specific. We need somebody to step up at these places that we have battles, and that's really what this first part of training camp's all about. For somebody to step up, and like I said, anybody can do it. All right, but anybody's not specific. We need somebody to take ownership of these battles, whether it's the quarterback position, whether it's the center position, the punter position, at linebacker, at defensive tackle, at corner. we need somebody to step up and be consistent and do the things we're going to ask them to do to be successful and help us win football games. I do have an announcement to make. Due to an NCAA matter that occurred at a previous institution, Bency Polgar is going to be ineligible this season. We have appealed this decision, and we were denied. He is here for camp. He will be with us through this season, but he will be ineligible, and that's about as much as I can tell you. And so with that, I'll open it up. So,
Eli, where's that situation leave you at center as far as who's competing?
Yeah, so that situation will be Connor Tollison, Drake Heismeyer, and Richard Taylor. All three of those guys are very capable. I thought they, knock on wood, today we didn't have any snaps that were errant, and so that was exciting to get through a day of practice and not have any bad snaps.
Eli, if you haven't want to follow up on it regardless, is it possible you'll go with two quarterbacks, or two quarterbacks isn't, or is your goal to only get one quarterback that's your guy?
My goal is to help us win. So whatever that takes, if we feel like in the first game we need to play multiple people at quarterback, that's what we'll do. If we feel like it gives us the best advantage to play with one quarterback, we'll play with one. We're not here to make everybody happy. This isn't happiness camp. It's not Club Med. This ain't participation trophy. It's about winning. All right, so whatever gives us the best chance to win. If that's the old Steve Spurrier rotating quarterbacks in every play, great. If it's one guy's got the show, then he'll run the show.
Coach, you talked to Ennis Rakestraw yesterday. What has it been like for you to kind of see him come back from that ACL? What kind of strength have you seen from him? And, what do you feel like the team can learn from that?
Yeah, I'm proud of Ennis for being out there today. There was a couple of times that somebody in front of him couldn't finish the reps, and so he just jumped right in there. I think one of the things that we all value about Ennis is his toughness. There's no doubt about he's a tough young man, and he keeps on coming, and we just got to continue to work with him to continue to embrace the team and put the team ahead of our own individual goals. But he is a competitor, and his competitive fire, man, I can't wait. I missed all spring being able to watch him versus Luther. That's going to be a good fun matchup because both those guys have a high level of competitive spirit, but we got to make sure it's within the framework of the team.
All right, Shane. So, hey, I love the energy, love the enthusiasm here from old Drinkwitz, as we call him on this show. But, hey, like I said, it's not all bad news here.
No, it's not. It's not. And I mean, we're going to have it. We're going to hear it, man. We're going to hear some injuries coming out here. We're going to hear some kids not being eligible. It's not the end of the world, and that's why we've got all those scholarship players. We just need some of them to step up, and that's one thing I do like is hearing some of the players step up in camp already, because sometimes that makes you better. A coach can yell at you until he's purple in the face, but sometimes if your buddy beside you is saying, "Hey man, pull your weight, get you going," they'll help you find that next gear, and that's what I like. I want to hear some more leaders step up like this.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Shane. So I want to give credit to Jason Swain, friend of the show. The great former Tennessee receiver. Now he does Knoxville radio down there. He's talking about he went and saw the Vols on Monday. They hit the practice field, and that's what he said you always got to watch for is those who's the seniors, who's the leaders. They have to train the young generation how you practice in college football, because these guys come in and they think they know everything, but they don't know anything in the SEC when it comes to lining up, when it comes to running correctly, to get in the drill, to step up. Who you say you want to be a starter, are you showing that on the practice field, or are you taking it casually? These are the things that you want to see from a leader like Ennis Rakestraw, and that again, great news for the Missouri Tigers.
Well, and that's why some of these 24/7 kids that you're thinking, oh man, he's a hit. Well, yeah, because he's never had to try. He's always been the best kid on the team. He's always been the best kid on the field. And the coaches are coming to him and whining and dining and telling him all these great things. He's going to play in the NFL. Well, if you come into that camp with that attitude, you're going to get left behind, because there are 50 other kids on that roster just as good, if not better than you, and you still got to work. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't put in the work, you don't move up this chart. So that's why I think it's important. Some of these fifth-year seniors and stuff that come back. I think of Bannister as an example. Here's a kid that could have He could have left 6 years, but he's back on that team. That's a leader, man. That's a kid that's doing it for the right reason, and these younger kids can look to him for guidance. So that's what you like to hear out of Mizzou's camp.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, last little update here, Shane. Let's jump it on down to Rocky Top where the Vols hit the practice field for the first time here on Monday. And, we gave a shout-out earlier to our buddy Brett Sianka Pick Six Previews. I just got his preview edition, highly recommended for not only SEC fans but all college football fans. And I'm sitting here reading the Tennessee section, and you kind of forget, Shane. We forget where we were a year ago, right? But Josh Heupel inherited a roster full of smash-mouth, power-based offense and didn't have a quarterback. And what do? They go out here and set 8 school records all-time, more touchdowns, more points than any Tennessee team in history. And then the defense, you look at, if you look at the overall stats, they're pretty poor, but you got to remember they had 25 guys leave the portal. And if you look at the efficiencies, they were around the 50th best defense in the country. Well, This year, going into year 2, Josh Heupel, a lot more confident. They've got a full 85 scholarship players to work with. They've got a year of speed and training with this staff, and he's loving what they see in this team. 1 year removed from their first fall practice. So let's kick it over to Josh Heupel on the growth of this team in a year's time, and looking for players to step up like Jalen Hyatt in year 2, and the buzz out of Knoxville, Shane. This true freshman, I know you're a big fan of him, Squirrel White. He's going to be too good to keep off the field, man. They had to keep Georgia away from poaching him. Josh Heupel loves him, this freshman receiver, Squirrel White.
Coach, I know you're not going to make any dramatic statements after day one, but just the eye test, do you feel it's safe to say you're faster, you're more athletic with all the transfers, freshmen coming in? It looks that way at the skill spots.
Yeah, I think we're deeper, with some of those transfers and the young guys inside of our program. The people that we've brought into the program, I think we've added athleticism, speed, the ability to move and be in functional football positions. What our strength staff and nutrition staff has done. Coach Schmidt, his strength and conditioning staff, Ethan Bauer, his nutrition staff. We've dramatically changed the bodies from when we first got here, certainly, but even as we finished last season. Last night, in our team meeting here before we get out on the grass today, the opportunity to just, showcase some of the dramatic improvements that our guys have made was a lot of fun, and certainly the skill spots, that's absolutely true. The jumps that, Trey Flowers has made, or Cedric Tillman, even in their body and how they can function and play. Then you look at the line of scrimmage, too. You look at Elijah Simmons and what he looks like, so really proud of what the guys did since January 24th when they got back.
Josh, just how much has Jalen Hyatt improved from the final day of last season to today, first day of camp?
Yeah, even in the middle part of last year, his focus and attention to detail, he understood that it needed to change, and he started making those changes. Dramatically different from the time that we got back in January. We talked earlier about guys that have changed their body. Like, he's added a ton of size and strength, maturity to his frame. I think that's gained a lot of confidence for him in how he plays with a physical presence, and that can be in one-on-one matchups. It could be blocking on the perimeter. It can be the way he presents himself and finishes plays when he has the ball in his hands too. All of those factors, give him the ability to have a big year for us this year.
Hey, Coach, seeing Brew out there practicing today, if he gets cleared, what does he bring to the table to this team? And also, Squirrel White looked awfully fast and quick out there. What does he bring as well?
He's not slow, that's for sure. Squirrel's competitive, really smart, mature in the way that he handles himself in the building, in the meeting room, physically taking care of his body, his ability for the game not to be moving too fast, really almost from day one in the way that he's handled what we do offensively. He needs to have a great camp for us and believe that he will. He's truly fearless. He's not the biggest guy, but he is fearless. He's going to stick his face in any physical situation that he needs to. Brew, big, strong, long out on the perimeter. He's learned how to play in our offensive system and how to play from the whistle of the previous snap to the snap of the next one. For him, I think he's gained a much better understanding of that throughout the course of the summer. The first couple weeks of June, so dramatically different than by the time we got to July with him. He's a guy that's played college football, right, and competed at a high level. That maturity is something that is an advantage for him in coming here and transitioning to our football program.
All right, Shane. So, hey, like I said, we're
Crown him.
Crown them.
Crown 'em.
We're one day into camp. We're the best Tennessee team of all time. That's how it's going to be all across the SEC. But I just thought the Vols would appreciate that little update there from Hyper.
I love it, man. I love it. Got Squirrel running around. Somebody asked me the other day who I thought the breakout player on this team was going to be. I think it's Jalen. I just think that he's just got the speed, man. And now it sounds like we got a few of them running around. So I'm on cloud nine, brother. Move that Tennessee game up your list, brother.
Well, hey, Shane, like I said at the top of the show, we're going to have more coach comments upcoming. We're just waiting for those to actually happen. We got the rest of the SEC kicking off, so we're going to be hitting all across the SEC this week and for the rest of the month. I cannot wait to get more news and notes around the SEC. But you got anything else before we hop off the line?
Oh, no, man. You know how to get me going, brother. My wife, she says, is it going to be a long one? I said, nope. Mike says it's going to be a short pod, and we're about an hour into this thing. Hey, that's just how it goes, man. You get excited talking about college football, and we're less than 30 days away from it, brother.
Yeah, no doubt. So I appreciate you. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. And don't forget, if you made it this far, give us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify. Now you can give us 5 stars. In exchange for that, we'll send you a free beer koozie of your choice. We got all 14 SEC teams represented with their own beer koozie. Just send those reviews on over to that SEC podcast at gmail.com. But that's going to do it. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Squirrel.